Hi and welcome back. In this video I'll be talking about the basic building blocks in Max. Okay, so let's actually start working in Max. I assume that you have Max already installed, and when you open the application you'll get the window that's called Max Console. And I'm working on Windows, so I will give you the shortcuts for Windows. You will have to look up the Mac ones, but I'm pretty sure most of them are very similar. So in order to start, we will open a new patch. You can just press Ctrl N or go in the file menu here. Let's make it bigger. Let's make zoom so it's actually easier to see on the small video window. Okay, so the very basic building blocks in Max are objects. And I just double click to create a new object. I can also delete it using either backspace or delete, or actually I can also go to the menu and click delete, but I can also press N, as you can see here. When I hover here over the top tab, it shows me the hint. I can just press N and I'll get a new object. The object has input and output. This is not a specific object yet because I haven't typed anything in here. And so this is the basic building block, and objects are performing actions, but we also have messages. Again, I can hover and see that the shortcut is M, so now I can press M. This is a message, and messages, we can see them as instructions or actual arguments for the objects. And there's one input that's used to trigger the message, but we can also use the special set message to set the value. There is the separate input that's for easier way to set the message value, and there's the output that's the result of the message. And the third very basic object is building block is comment. The shortcut is C, and it just can be useful when, for example, you are working on a complex patch and you want to create a small comment on the side for yourself when you come back to it after some times, and you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's going on in the patch. You can just put your comment. Yeah, so that's pretty much the three very basic but commonly used types of building blocks in Max. I would say them object and message are more common than comment, but comment is still useful. And there is also a specific object called bang, and it's sending, actually we can see what it's sending. We can turn this object into print. So whatever is actually sent into this input will be printed here into the console, so we can see the value that's being sent into this input. And let's quickly grab a connection from the output from the bank and connect it to the print. So right now I'll turn the edit mode off, and now I can click it, and we can see that the bang appeared here. If I click it more times, there are more bangs appearing here. And this is literally what this button is sending. It's sending a bank message. Bank message is special type of message that's sent inside Max. It's actually working the same way in Pure Data as well, because when you send a bank, it will actually trigger an action. So, for example, if we put in the message, let's put hello, and we can connect the hello here to the print again. So right now, if I press this message, I'll see the hello, but I can also connect the bang here to the trigger input. And right now, when I click the bang, I'll also get hello. It's rather silly example, but this is how things work, and we will gradually get to more complex stuff. So bear with me. We also have a toggle. Toggle is quite useful because many parameters can be disabled or enabled. So specific objects can take 1 or 0 to have specific thing disabled or enabled. So we usually combine it with something, but for now we can see how it works. So again, I connected it to the print, and as you can see, the cross inside it is like turning on and off, and we can see zeros and ones appearing on the console. And it can be very handy at times. For example, we could use it with Metro or other objects, but again, we will get to that. For now, I'm just trying to explain the basics and basic building blocks that will come handy while working in Max. And we also, okay, maybe actually let's look at the numbers now. So we have different approaches to number. One is we can call with the shortcut I, one with F, and one, actually there is not a predefined shortcut, but it's a third type of number with tilde sign. So we, like I said, the first one I can call with using I, and let's see what this one sends. So if I drag it, I can see that the number that I get in the print, which is basically what this object is sending, is the value that I can see on the, I'm just clicking and scrolling up or down to increase or decrease the number. As you can see, this is a whole number. This is always a whole number if I'm working with object I, because this is an integer. The I stands for integer, basically. And the second one was F. So I just press F on the keyboard. And as you can see, there's a small dot after the 0. And this is how we distinguish floats from integers in Max. We will see probably in the next video when I will be explaining the mathematical operations. And we'll see more of that. So right now I can scroll, and as you can see, actually depending where I scroll, when I start scrolling, whether it's on the very right side of the window or middle of this window or left side of this object, the increment is different. But right now, as you can see on the console, we are working with floats, so values that could be, this precision is bigger, and the increase or decrease can be smaller, basically. Of course, we can send integer to float, and we will just get floats, but with whole numbers. And if we do it vice versa, it will be just rounded up to the closest integer. But again, we'll get to that gradually. And it will be useful to actually see that all those building blocks have help files that can be helpful, because sometimes we don't know what the object does, or what exactly the input, what kind of argument the input can take, or what is how we can change some parameters. Because as we will learn it, we can actually add some arguments after the name of the object if they're defined within the object. And in order to do that, we can right-click on the object, and we can see open print help in this case, and we will get the help file for this object. And there's usually an explanation of the object, some examples of how to work with it. For example, we can add the add popup one, and this will enable an option to actually display the value that's being sent to the print object inside the Max patching window. So again, the 0,1 is used for enabling something. So we can write it here, and we get a little hint as I start typing. It says popup, and 1 to enable it. And right now, when I will scroll in this window, or whenever I actually send any value to this print object, I will also see the value both in console and here in the patcher window. Yeah, you can see it's small, but it's there whenever I send a value to the print. This can come handy at times, especially if we are debugging something. So print, it's always nice to have to help ourselves to figure stuff out.